Symbiosis is, I think, a word that we often misunderstand. I mean, I don't know, maybe nobody else does, but for me, symbiosis. I often think of symbiosis as a good thing, like it's always positive. And in fact, symbiosis is just a term to describe a relationship between two critters. And of course, sometimes there are symbiotic relationships that are totally good, right? So there's an example of mutualism. I can't seem to write and spell at the same time. Mutualism is a form of symbiosis that is beneficial to all. This is the win-win scenario. I'm definitely a fan of mutualistic relationships, symbiosis that is mutualistic, where everybody's benefiting. I love finding the win-win solution, and I have several examples of fungi engaging in mutualism with other critters. It's not like mutualism does not count if you are of the same species as who you're engaging with mutualistically. You have to be two different species interacting with each other. So perhaps we should modify our definition and say species so that we're really clear that this is actually between different groups of organisms. Mutualism is good for everybody. The opposite of mutualism, or the other end of symbiosis, is parasitism. Parasitism. And that's a relationship that is good for one, bad for the other. And dude, do not get me started talking about parasites. Except you're going to, because I'm going to tell you about some fungal parasites and I will blow your mind because that's what fungi do to their things that they parasitize. And it's like crazy talk. Parasites are amazing. Parasites are not predator prey. So a whole different form, and this isn't symbiotic, a whole different form of relationship between organisms can be predator and prey. And in order to be in the parasite world, you can't, what you do to someone can be bad for them, but it can't kill them. Because if it kills them, then all you did was you predatorized them. You ate them, you murdered them, like whatever. It was all bad for one and all good for the other. Parasitism is this weird, like in between, like you really are in a relationship with your parasite. Aww. But it's bad for one partner. One partner in the group is not getting a good deal. The middle ground in a symbiotic relationship is something called commensalism. And this is good for one. What do I want to say? Irrelevant. There's a better word for this. It is good for one and nothing for the other. It's not bad for the other, but it actually isn't benefiting the other. It's kind of just like you're there, but whatever, it's not helping, it's not doing anything good. An example of a mutualistic, I can't think of a commensalistic scenario. I'm sure that you can, and probably if I sat here for long enough, I totally could come up with a good analogy. I would recommend coming up with some analogies for these, but I am going to give you some fungal examples. So a mutualistic example of fungi is the mycorrhizae that I mentioned, and I'm going to make sure I spell it for you correctly. Mycorrhiza. And this is a fungus plant root symbiosis, and it is good for both. Such that if you sometimes you can run into issues with like potting soil because it doesn't have the right fungus in the soil, and therefore the plant can't survive in soil that doesn't have its little fungal partner in it, which is super interesting. The fungus gets associated with the plant roots and then pulls nutrients out of the soil that it feeds to the plant roots. And remember, I mean, a fungus actually is just a whole bunch of, like a network of a network of tubes that associate with the net of the plant roots. So the fungus is feeding in nutrients, and meanwhile, the plant leaves are photosynthesizing and sending sugar to the roots, because the cells in the roots have to eat as well, even though they are not actually photosynthesizing. But the sugar gets delivered to the mycorrhizal fungi surrounding the roots. And it is an example of a symbiotic relationship. The other symbiotic relationship that I have for fungi is my other amazing favorite, lichens. Now this one, there's been some discussion about these. Lichens are a fungus with an intracellular. Is it intracellular? I'm gonna go back on that. I'm gonna say it's not intracellular, it's an intraorganismal. I'm not going to make up a word for this. With a algae or bacterial inside. The fungus actually holds the algae in its fungus body. Now, the algae gets protection, like it lives. Now, lichens are hugely diverse. You often mistake them for mosses. They look really similar to mosses, and we'll look at some pictures of those to distinguish between them. But they surround the algae, or the thing that is photosynthesizing for them, and take the sugars that they produce and then protect them from the environment. Like now this algae has a place to live and carry out its life. There is some suggestion that the lichens are actually starving the algae and that it's more of a slavery situation, in which case I would say that maybe it's sort of like the fungus is parasitizing the algae, but there kind of is a good thing. Like they're protected. The algae are protected. So it might be a good thing. Dude, the parasitism, fungal parasitism is bonkers. And there is an example. I'm going to just tell you a couple stories, and I just have to find a different color. There is a fungus that infects a fly. Okay, fly and fungus. And the fungus infects the fly's brain and proceeds to cause the fly. How did the fly get infected with this fungus? I don't know, but it has fungus in it now. It takes over its brain, and the fungus takes over the fly's brain and causes the fly to climb to the top of a tall tree at dusk. What? What is what? So this fly crawls to the top of a tree at dusk. So the sun is going down and this fly then attaches, you know, the fly like proboscis that it like comes along and dude, did you know that flies actually barf on you when their proboscis comes out and they like go along and they're like searching for food? They're actually like puking on you and then sucking up their puke. Like whatever, that's horrifying. They take their proboscis. They don't puke on the tree. They attach their proboscis to the tree and let go of the tree. So they hang in the tree by their proboscis and then they explode. And when they explode, all fungal spores inside them, all these reproductive cells from the fungus explode out of the fly and float down onto the ground and grow into new fungi. The fly had to climb to the top of a tree to create greater spread of the glorious spores. What? Are you kidding me? That's like the craziest fungal parasitism that you can imagine. There are all sorts of fungal parasites that like grow in the ants. They like grow funguses out of the ants and take over brains of insects, and it's just bonkers. What's that recent show? What is that? Come on now, somebody yell it out to me. What is that show about the parasite, the fungus that infects? Oh my God, I can see the lady and I can see the guy. Oh, whatever. I know you know what I'm talking about because it's a recent show. There should be more episodes of it coming out with the fungal zombies, right? And they like, their faces get all crazy and it's like the scariest show. I can't watch most of it. I have to hide my face for most of it, but fungal parasites. I did read an article that said, yeah, that's not likely to happen, that level of fungal infection, but they infect brains of insects. So I don't know, like, where is the line? Oh, so cool. Okay, come up with examples for commensalism, make analogies for these so you can remember the symbiotic relationships, and then remember our mycorrhizae and our lichens as examples of mutualism. Okay, let's talk about plants.